the way I got it figured.
It's the final chapter in our top 10 list for the War for Cybertron trilogy. This time we're looking at Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom top 10 list on Way I Got It Figured. What's up, Transformers fans? Way I Got It Figured back with the final top 10 for the War for Cybertron trilogy series. We're looking at Kingdom this time. And of course, you know, I've already done Siege and Earthrise, so you can go check those videos out. Let me know your thoughts, your top 10 on those lists, and of course on this list. We're going to get into it, starting with some honorable mentions. This list probably was actually the hardest to come up with because it's very much a continuation of Earthrise, along with, you know, the added component of Beast War. So it made it a little trickier to come up with a top 10 list. I think it actually got a little bit more difficult with each successive entry into the series. So I got 4 honorable mentions all here. One, we'll start with Trax. Trax is sort of a sentimental favorite of mine. So I always have a soft spot for any of the figures that I got as a kid. So I did not have the world's best Transformers collection initially during the time of Transformers, but shortly thereafter, you know, I would trade people for G.I. Joes, for Transformers, and other things for Transformers, and I built up a collection sort of as Transformers was on its way out. And then, of course, as an adult, you know, I've had several Transformers collections that I've sold, traded, this, that, and the other. But one of the figures that I always get whenever they make them is Trax. And the reason why is because he's one of the figures that I got as a kid. So I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the Siege video that I did, my first Transformer ever was Soundwave. So that's another one. He always gets bought. Ultra Magnus, who's probably my favorite character, period. Rodimus Prime, from a toy aspect, always, you know, I appreciate the character, but also I had him as a kid. And a couple of others who you will see in this video, so I don't want to give it all away right now. But Trax is an honorable mention. He is not the world's greatest Transformers figure. I started to put Road Rage in because she has the different head, and I like them together. But I just decided to just stick with Trax. He's not terrible. A lot of people had problems with their copy and everything like that. I don't have any problems with mine. He stands fine. He's tight. There's nothing wrong with the figure itself. It just may not be necessarily the best figure, you know, overall. Second is a figure that really, honestly, I don't know why he's not on the list. I just had to make choices. So number 2 is Warpath. Warpath is one of the few figures that has not been reused for any purpose thus far. The only figure using this body, this mold, is Warpath. So, I mean, I would have thought they would have made a Generation 2 Warpath, but they went with the Generation 2 unreleased figures rather than like the Generation 2 figures that were released. So I don't know what they plan to do, but he's never been used for anything else. He's a one and done character up to this point, and he is a pretty cool little figure, made in mini-bot scale to, you know, stand alongside the other Autobot characters. I do think on the show, though, his sizing was not really consistent. You know, in the episode A Decepticon in King Arthur's court or whatever, like Warpath was literally the same size, if not even a little bit bigger than Hoist. So, you know, there's the animation model scale chart, and then there's what they actually did in the show. And that's going to come up again too. I'm fine with the size that he is. Perhaps I thought that on the show they made him too big in that case. So, you know, whatever. Scale is more like a guideline, but I am a scale person. And I like this figure regardless of whether he's too small or whether he's too big. It's a great figure. Then third up on the list is the Generation Selects Toy Colors Galvatron, Galvatron 2, comic book Galvatron, whichever way you want to look at them. This figure, this character, this toy is probably like the most embarrassing toy that I have in my entire Transformers collection. What do I mean by that? Well, they released Kingdom Galvatron, and whether I like it or not, I bought every single version of Galvatron. Now, do I like Galvatron? Yes. But is he like my favorite character? No. You know, yeah, I love Galvatron. Everybody loves Galvatron. He's cool. But I didn't know that I was going to end up buying 4 Galvatrons, which I did. I bought 4. I bought this one. I bought the Kingdom version. I got the Legacy one on sale. And I even got Behold Galvatron, you know, the Unicron, changing them into Galvatron version. It came with the Unicron accessory pack. So, I do have a little upgrade on him, as well as Trax. I have just to go back to Trax just for a sec here, I have a toy Trax gun upgrade kit that I bought. And it came with missiles that look more like the toy missiles. I didn't care about those. I did want the gun though. And then I got a upgrade kit for Galvatron with the toy gun because he's toy colors. So, so there you go. And finally, and certainly not least, is my final honorable mention, which is the Ark. So this is my Ark that I, got when Kingdom came out. This is actually one of the few Titans that you had not that much of a big issue finding in Target or the store. Actually buy them in the store if you wanted to. I got mine on Hasbro Pulse, but I saw him in Target several times. He's on the honorable mention list. It's on the honorable mentions list because even though it's a Transformer with the very cool last Autobot head from the G1 comic book, Marvel Comics version, I bought it for the ship. I did not buy it for the transformation into robot. So the fact that it transforms is somewhat superfluous to me. It's the first time the ship's been immortalized in a large frame action figure setting. I mean, they did make it for like the Cyberverse Legion for the Dark of the Moon, and they might have made like a titanium Ark, I think. But this is the first truly proper Transformers toy with the Ark, and we know where that led us to, the Nemesis being made into a figure and all of that. So it is an honorable mention, and it's definitely going to serve a purpose beyond just being a ship in my collection. So that's your honorable mentions. Now we can move on to the list proper. All right. right, number 10 on our list is Leader Class Ultra Magnus. So as I said, you know, earlier in the video, Ultra Magnus is probably my favorite character. It's sort of like a square. There's 4 characters that I go back and forth with as my favorite characters on any given day. Those characters are Ultra Magnus, Optimus Prime, Megatron, and Prowl. So those are my 4 favorite G1 characters. But also, you know, Ultra Magnus is probably number 1 out of those, honestly. He's not all the way up there with Prime, but he's, the way I always kind of sort of look at this character is he's sort of like the real man's version of Prime. Like, you know, very good at what he does, not necessarily ultra super duper better than everybody, but he's a solid choice for anything. And, you know, in various forms of fiction and Japanese fiction and everything, he is the robot that Optimus Prime would pick as his proxy for anything. They did a whole, you know, the entire GT series in Japan is, they used the whole Game of Death thing with Ultra Magnus from the old video game, as Optimus Prime picking Ultra Magnus as the one character, the one Autobot that he could rely on to never give up and succeed if he couldn't do it himself. So, you know, that's how I look at Ultra Magnus. I know the internet has all the takes in the world. Whatever, you know, I can't deal with that now. As far as this figure, though, he's number 10 because, well, for one thing, Siege Ultra Magnus was on the Siege list, and I didn't want to give this figure a higher rank because he was already on another list, even though it's a repaint of that figure, retool of that figure. This figure is often reviled by many collectors, even though I really don't see why. I think it's a great figure. Can he carry cars? Not really, but I also feel like Ultra Magnus has to always, you know, do double duty. He's got to be able to carry cars and be a superposable robot. It annoys me to no end. He's getting, though, some love now. This version is now getting some love because the Studio Series 86 figure that's out now, you can get it online and everything like that. I'm still waiting for mine. It's out of scale. It's so massively out of scale. You know, I can't even put my hand in the frame to where the height of the Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus. He's like massive in robot mode, and it's because of the engineering and everything like that. But you know, aesthetically, I want all of my stuff to match. Am I going to get the figure? Yes. Why? Because, like I just said, you know, he's my favorite character. So, yeah, I'm going to buy it. But he might be the first Ultra Magnus that I keep in truck mode. I don't know. I have the Masterpiece version. I already have that toy in a very real sense. This one that's upcoming has better articulation and everything like that. We'll see. We're going to do a review. We're going to go through it and everything like that. So, needless to say, this figure has been getting a little bit more love because a lot of people are not satisfied with the fact that this new Ultra Magnus is going to be massively massive. So, on this figure, I do have a couple of upgrades, very understated. One, of course, is the Autobot symbol, which he does not have, you know, on his chest out of the box, so I got a label and put it on there. And then 2, I swapped the guns from Siege and Kingdom. So this Siege version is sort of a dirty, dyed-in-the-wool battling Ultra Magnus. This is the cleaned up, we're all spotless like we were on the cartoon version. And so his gun should be spotless as well. So I do have Ultra Magnus here to show what I mean. So the gun that this Ultra Magnus is using is the gun that comes with Kingdom, vice versa. I switched them. And you tell me, this looks more appropriate to me with this Ultra Magnus. This definitely looks more appropriate with this Ultra Magnus. So that's sort of my little upgrade. I didn't mean to take 6 minutes on Ultra Magnus, but he is number 10 on the list. Number 9 on our list is the strong, highly skilled engineer, but pessimistic, Huffer. Huffer is, of course, you know, checking a huge box, that 1984 assortment from that first year. And that's kind of, he's sort of like when we really knew we were getting all the mini bots are on their way when we got, you know, we got Huffer. I want to also say, because they share the same mold but different aesthetics, you know, I'll put pipes in the same category. I don't have pipes here to show on the video, but you know, I rank him the same. But Huffer gets the nod being an original 1984 Autobot. So he's number 9, and your main reason isn't because of anything going on with the robot mode. The robot mode's cool. It's in truck mode, they have a tendency to bow under, like they're like, you know, it's a weird flaw in how the figure transforms. So it's great to have him. He's an awesome robot. Obviously, I display my stuff in robot mode, so I'm not really worried about the truck. But, you know, when he is a truck, it's a problem. So for that reason, Huffer is number 9. At number 8, we got another one of those sentimental favorites. Told you that was going to come back. And this time we're looking at Inferno. Now, Inferno would be high. He could be higher on the list. I didn't make him higher on the list because he's a, you know, repaint, retool of Grapple from Earthrise. And even though Grapple didn't necessarily make the list, it doesn't change the fact that he's, you know, a reuse. So I try to keep all the reuses more or less low on the list. Huffer, notwithstanding, just because of his sort of bowing under deal, it's a big deal. A lot of people don't like that. I don't like that. So here's Inferno. Like I said, he's number 8, and I had him as a kid. He's one of the, my mom always, anything with involving a fire truck or whatever, she would get me, because when I was a kid, I thought that I was going to grow up and be a firefighter. Well, that didn't happen because I have asthma. So, you know, I'm not ever going to be able to be a firefighter. That's probably the only reason it didn't happen. But, you know, that's it. So, you know, if I wanted something that was a fire truck or fire related or whatever, my mom would just, you know, sort of just say, okay. And I chose Inferno on this particular day. I think they didn't have Prowl. They didn't even have Prowl. So I had to get Inferno. So I got Inferno in 1985. Along with Trax. He's one of the ones that I got as a kid. So number 8 is Inferno. At number 7, we've got, I guess I will call it a split. At number 7 is supposed to be Sideswipe, but I had Red Alert handy, and I really like both decos of these figures. So at number 7, we're going to go ahead and say Sideswipe and Red Alert. Since they're both exclusives, honestly, you're splitting the difference anyway. Sideswipe is a part of the Battle Across Time collection, and Red Alert was a Walgreens exclusive. So, you know, I was overjoyed that we were starting to get the Earth modes of characters that were in Siege. It was nice to know that they tooled them both ways up front, and so, you know, I hopped on both of these when I had the chance. I don't have any upgrades on Sideswipe, even though I believe I got the spoilers for him. I don't know where the spoilers are. And I wouldn't get the spoilers for him without, you know, I wouldn't get the spoilers for Red Alert without getting the spoilers for a Sideswipe, so I knew I have those spoilers. I don't know where they are. So that's sort of the upgrade for those guys. And, you know, Sideswipe, checking that 1984 box. Red Alert, checking that 1985 box. So there you go. Number 7. At number 6, we've got Blaster and Eject, one of the final Kingdom releases. I think Legacy had gotten pushed back a little bit, so they squeezed a couple of figures in a final wave, Blaster being one of them. Then they did Slammer in the deluxes. And Slammer didn't make the list. Maybe he should have. I don't know. It's so hard to pick these lists. Slammer's a great figure too. It was so hard. They didn't make any really bad figures. I mean, maybe Trax might be the closest to an actual bad figure, but again, mine is cool. There's no problems with them. But Blaster was definitely a figure that I was greatly anticipating. You know, he seemed like an Earthrise he should have got made, but they had a plan, and the plan was for, you know, Kingdom. I would have liked him to be higher up on the list. There's a reason why he's number 6. And the reasons are, one, there's that scale thing again. In the show, Blaster was shoulder height to Optimus Prime, Megatron. He's right, like basically the same height as Soundwave. But in the toy, he's exactly the same height as Optimus Prime. So I don't have Optimus Prime here, but just to show you, he's like taller than Inferno, and that's not right. I kind of understand why they did it, but, you know, it may be transformation related, but honestly, you could have just made him a little bit smaller. Whatever. It's not, but they didn't. And it's okay. He's not wildly out of scale, just a little bit. And there is a precedent for it on the same, you know, reference sheet for scale on the show. Blaster was like literally the same height as Optimus Prime on the reference sheet. But on the reference sheet, that's not how they did it on the show. And there's a couple of characters like that. Blitzwing comes to mind. They have him taller than Astro Train and almost as tall as Megatron, but he was like the same height as Astro Train, who was like the same height as Blaster and Soundwave and those guys. Everybody was like shoulder height to Megatron or Optimus Prime to differentiate Optimus Prime and Megatron from everybody else. So that's one thing. And is it a nitpick? Sure. The other thing, though, that I really dislike, and they have yet to correct it, is that they made Blaster his Electro Scrambler rifle, which is a cool gun and everything. They took away the blast effect compatibility. You can't use a blast effect on this figure. I've yet to find one that works anyway. If anybody knows of one that does, let me know. Especially for stop motion purposes, I like to use practical effects, so I use the blast effects for the shooting effects rather than, you know, special effects, because I just don't have access to any of that stuff. And so, you know, for the initial part of Kingdom or Legacy, it seemed like they were going to back off of having everything be Black Blast Effect compatible. And you can see that across the early stuff. The Stunticons don't have Blast Effect compatibility, but everything else does. Blaster and the Stunticons. And even now, the new stuff that's coming out, I don't know, maybe somebody didn't, they missed a note or something. I don't know. But every version of Blaster, which I have, none of them have Blast Effect compatibility. So I like consistency. Everybody likes consistency, I'm sure. And so that sort of hurt this figure. Eject is cool. As you can see, I do have somewhat of an upgrade kit on him with a little gun. And the other one will go to Rewind with Twin Cast, who I still have yet to open, but will be opening soon. But yeah, looks great. Poses great. Does almost everything great. It just doesn't have Blast Effect capability, and that's alarming or annoying. I do have a upgrade kit on him, so I filled in his gaps, as you can see there. But I don't think it's necessary. I just sort of filled my cart with stuff, and that was that. So there you go. Blaster is number 6. Coming in at number 5 is our first core class figure and our first Beast Wars figure. So I hope you didn't think this list was gonna not have any Beast Wars in it. It was always going to. So Rat Trap here is an amazing figure, small, but he's in scale, and he is the prototypical core class figure for what I buy. So what I mean by that is I get the core class figures that are in scale to the rest of the line. So that's your Spike Witwickies, your Rumbles, your Rat Traps, stuff like that. I don't really like getting like the small Iron Hides and the small Star Screens and anything like that, because they don't scale with anything. Even if you put them with a Titan, they're still out of scale. So I just rather just not buy those. But Rat Trap is cool. He does have Blast Effect compatibility, unlike Blaster. Boo. But yeah, Rat Trap, cool character, cool figure. He's number 5. At number 4, we've got Optimus Primal. Optimus Primal is a great figure. Voyager class, even though he's on the small side. But I do like that they hit all the notes that you needed to hit with him. His articulation is great. His beast mode isn't bad. And he looks the part. He is every bit the character that you want. This is the original sort of store-bought version, not the Walmart exclusive one. I didn't get that one. I just stuck with this one. And it's Optimus Primal. He's great. You know, I don't even know what else to say about him. So there you go. I'm gonna cut some time out of this one and say he is number 4. At number 3, we've got Voyager class Cyclonus. So Cyclonus is an awesome figure. He's, you know, as they put it on the cartoon, sleek and awesome. This is a great figure. You can pose him. You can do all kinds of stuff with him. The jet mode is awesome. There's not a lot bad to say about this figure. In fact, a lot of people have Cyclonus as their number 1 Kingdom figure, period. And I can see why. He's a good figure. But He's not my number one, but he's up there. He's high up there. It's Cyclonus. So, you know, being Cyclonus from Transformers the movie, from season 3, it's a character you gotta have in your collection. You can back up Galvatron very well, and I even bought the Generation Selects version of him with the darker purple, but that's actually a legacy figure, so you know he's not included on this list. So there you go. Don't want to belabor the point. Cyclonus, he's awesome, and he's number 3. At number 2, we've got the big bad himself, Megatron Beast from the Beast Wars. This figure is excellent. I don't have the masterpiece, and once I got this figure, I didn't feel like I really needed to have the masterpiece. He's pretty great. So, you know, I wanted to make sure that Beast Wars got representation on this list, and I don't think there's any better representation of a Beast Wars figure in Kingdom or around Kingdom than Beast Wars Megatron. He is definitely all that and a proverbial bag of chips. He's your number 2. We finally reached number 1 in our Kingdom top 10 countdown. And for me, I'm picking not only what I consider to be the top Kingdom figure, number 1 on that list, but also the best War for Cybertron trilogy figure, period. Commander Class Rodimus Prime. So up to date, up to that point when Kingdom had come out, I feel like this figure is the best figure that Hasbro produced in the entire trilogy. Maybe Armada Optimus Prime may have surpassed him as a overall better figure. I'm not sure yet, but up to this point, and even with Motormaster after this, I would say this was for me, the top entry in the whole War for Cybertron trilogy and the first year of Legacy. This figure is all of that, and it's a figure that I constantly go back to. It's a figure I grab off my shelf. It's a figure I keep close at hand all the time. Kingdom Rodimus Prime. Of course, he has a Matrix, blast effects, his photon eliminator, and he even has a Sword of Primus that they gave him for who knows what reason, but I'm not complaining. And of all the figures in Kingdom, let alone the rest of War for Cybertron trilogy, for me, this is the guy. This is the figure. I know a lot of people want him to look a little bit younger than this or whatever, but honestly, you know, going all the way back to G1, the figure had an old look, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with this, the wizened face of experience and wisdom that was given to him by the Matrix, that he was always meant to have, that is a part of him. And so for that reason, number 1, Kingdom Rodimus Prime is your top 10 figure of Kingdom, War for Cybertron Kingdom. So I'm going to move on to final thoughts. So we've reached the end of our top 10 Kingdom figure list and the end of our War for Cybertron trilogy top 10 series. And I want to say it's been a really cool journey. These are your top 10 figures. Well, 11, I guess, in a sense, or 12 because of Eject coming with Blaster and Red Alert and Sideswipe splitting. But this is my picks. These are the top guys as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, you know, it's a good group of toys. So of course, what I would say is, I wish I could have got a little bit more stop motion into this video, but just with the time that it took to do them, and then also get the video up before the end of September, it was just difficult to do. So I do have a couple in there, so enjoy those, and they will continue to come. So that's all I gotta say. War for Cybertron Trilogy really brought me back to Generations. Prior to that, I was collecting Masterpiece, and you know, they really are putting out really great figures. Are they perfect? Is it always perfect? No, of course it's not. It never is. Masterpiece wasn't perfect, but you know, you're getting really nice figures that are a lot more accurate to the cartoon, which at least or the animation models, or even how they drew them in the comic books. Because I don't really feel like the cartoon is the end-all be-all continuity. That's not how I look at it. I always sort of went by the tech specs, and then also the comic book. And the cartoon was also obviously cool to watch, but you still wanted your figures to look as close to on model as possible. Now, a lot of people, they go into this whole thing of they're still asking the question 40 years later, why don't they look like they did on the show? Well, it's because the toys were first for the first 2 years. It wasn't, you know, until the 1986 series where they started making figures specifically for Transformers, and even then they weren't necessarily all that great. When you think of Rodimus, Hot Rod, Cup, they were bricks. They were like almost like more bricky than even some of the other G1 ones. So that's the reason for that. But everybody, I think, most people, at least like the aesthetic of the figures matching the cartoon, even if they don't necessarily hold the cartoon as some kind of, you know, Bible or whatever. All right, so that's going to do it for this one. I'm going to take a break from the top 10 stuff for now. They'll obviously never going to stop. I mean, there'll be more top 10s, I promise you that. But, you know, I'll probably take a break, start the top 10s up with the top 10 figures of 2023 stuff in a couple of months. And then after that, maybe I'll tackle the Legacy series, which is really just a continuation of the War for Cybertron trilogy. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys are enjoying the stop motions. If you have any, you know, questions about them or critiques or any of that, you know, obviously put it in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We are trying to grow this channel. And if you are a subscriber already, thanks for continuing to rock with us. I'm always trying to come up with something cool for people to watch. So until next time, I will see you all on the next video. Everybody, please stay safe. Peace.
The way I got it figured.